If your country has a central bank and they have a printing press, inflation only has one way to go, and that's up. Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, there is so much news to go over, I didn't even know what to title this video. Happy Monday, I hope you're all doing well, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for spending a little bit of your time with me today, and thank you to all of you that spent a little time with us yesterday during our live stream. And again, congratulations to the 3 winners. I will be waiting about another day to make sure that I have all of the correct addresses and everything so that I can mail out or order those prizes for you. Let's go ahead and get started because we've got a lot of stuff to go over. And in the end, I have a story for you. So I'm going to save story time for the end of this video. Winter is coming for the UK. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what. Winter is coming for all of us. If you're not preparing now for this coming winter, you will feel the ramifications of your inactions. The outlook for the UK is looking increasingly grim. There are few reasons to hope a new government can reverse the mounting consumer fears, stagflation, and the growing sense of decline. It is in their face, ladies and gentlemen. In the UK, Europe, Germany, it is hitting them in their face. Why? Something that I've mentioned several times. We need energy. We need energy, and sanctions never work. Why? Because they hurt the common people. Right? They never hurt those people that put the sanctions in place. They hurt the common people first and foremost. The country feels like it is sinking into a suffocating despond. Everything in Britain feels broken. The NHS is too crowded to treat patients, and the NHS, I believe, is National Health Service. The police are so overloaded, they have stopped even bothering to investigate crime. This kind of sounds like the Cloward and Piven strategy, right? Listen to it. Everything is overloaded, enough to where the system is not able to keep up with the needs of those that pay for the system to be in place. While airports are blocked, trains don't work, and it really doesn't matter much because you can't get a passport or driving license renewed. As the rains come down, we're under threat of dire authoritarian punishment if we dare use a garden hose. Imagine that. Although, to be fair, who is going to arrest you? Oh, I guess they have a little bit of humor in there. And ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a common theme throughout every nation in the world. Except for those nations that are insulating themselves against the effects of the US dollar and the effects, in my opinion, right, in my opinion, of US politicians trying to tell them how to run their country. Why should any politician in any country be telling any other politician in any other country how to run their country? Think about that. And now, because these other people, these politicians in these other countries, for whatever deals they made behind closed doors, because of their decisions, their people are suffering, and their people will continue to suffer. If you live in the UK, heck, if you live anywhere in the world, you need to be prepared for this winter, because I think this is going to be probably one of the harshest winters that we've experienced in our lifetimes. And I don't mean harsh because of weather. I mean harsh because people are going to be suffering, people are going to be helpless, and many people are going to be hopeless. And therefore, many people will cease to exist, at least in this physical world. U.S. natural gas hits 14-year high. EU benchmark explodes even higher. Now, I want you to consider this. Right now, U.S. natural gas, all right, we're talking about the U.S. natural gas, hits a 14-year high. One of those plants that caught on fire, I believe it was in the middle of summer, a few months back, is still not online. And the key point here is that plant is in Texas. That plant is an exporter of LNG, of liquid natural gas, which means that once that plant comes back online, what's going to happen is going to decrease the amount of natural gas that we have here in the United States, because we will start exporting again. I guarantee you this, right? Because these companies are making a lot of money. And don't blame the companies, ladies and gentlemen. Blame the policies that government put in place that allow those companies to do that, right? Because yes, those companies got big because they bribed government officials, right? But the government officials should have never been bribed to begin with. They should have had the internal fortitude to say no. So they go and practice what is called crony capitalism, which means that, hey, big corporation, I'm in your pockets. So whatever you need me to do, just throw me over a few dollars and I will do it. U.S. natural gas futures surged to a new 14-year high this morning as European prices spiked on Russia's move to shut a major pipeline for planned maintenance, sparking increased fears that demand for American exports of the heating and power plant fuel will soar when Freeport LNG terminal comes back online in October. So if you think that they're going up now, you just wait until the LNG, the natural gas, actually starts leaving our borders. I believe that we'll probably hit all-time highs. As you can see here, the all-time highs were about $14, $15 back in 2006 or so. I believe that we will surpass that this time around. So like I've been saying, like I've been harping for the last several months now, get ready for this winter. You don't have a place to store whatever fuel it is that you use to heat your home, stock up on everyday items en masse. That way you can make it through those winter months without having to buy food, without having to buy this or that, whatever it is that you use on a regular basis, because then you can divert those funds over to your heating bill. And more than likely, those things that you do buy today, in about 3 or 4 months, 5 months, they're going to be a lot more expensive than what they are now. Why? Because of rising fuel costs as well. And I have to bring this up, ladies and gentlemen. Here, Russia says the U.S. has doomed Europe to hunger and cold. Well, I don't think that the U.S. has doomed Europe. I think that Europe has doomed Europe by falling for the propaganda or falling for the promises that U.S. politicians have made them. Right? I think that that's what's happened. I don't think that it's the U.S. as a whole that's done it, but Europe has doomed Europe to what's going to happen to them this winter because they fell for the promises and propaganda that they were spewed upon by the U.S. government. Russian State Department speaker, his name, said on Friday that the United States ruling class has doomed Europe to hunger and cold. Europe will also be suffering in isolation as the U.S. continues to pressure the bloc to cut all ties with Moscow. He wrote on Telegram that Washington would stop at nothing to cling to its power over the world as it throws under the bus the citizens' welfare and the economies of European countries to achieve this end. Government is there for government. If they don't have total control, then they are doing something wrong in their eyes, I believe. And this will happen to the citizens of the United States as well, as you are already feeling it, ladies and gentlemen. You already know that government is not there to make sure that you make it. Government is there to make sure that you are under their control and that you do what they want you to do. And how do they do that? Through their regulations, to their laws, through their taxation, etc. So this is not just something that's going to be happening in Europe. It's already here in the United States. It's just not as severe. But you better prepare because it will get as severe sooner or later. He noted that natural gas in the U.S. costs $333 per 1,000 cubic meters. And at the same time, Washington sells it to Europe for a price which is 7.3 times higher, rendering the EU economy uncompetitive, he wrote, adding that the Eurozone's annual inflation rate had hit a record just shy of 9%. And if you can disagree with that, you see, the thing is I don't care where it comes from. If it's true, it's true. Anyone that says that water is wet, it doesn't matter who they are. Water is wet. All right, ladies and gentlemen, anyone that says that you need oxygen in the air in order to live, it doesn't matter who he or she is. It doesn't matter where they come from, because it is true. You need oxygen in the air in order for you to be able to live. And when the banks start warning, that's when you really need to listen. When the banks, when mainstream media starts putting out warnings that have validity behind it, that's when you really need to listen, ladies and gentlemen. This is happening more and more often. Citi issues apocalyptic warning about UK inflation. German central bank fears further surge in prices. And here it says the chief UK economist at Citi told clients on Monday that it expects, listen to this, CPI inflation to hit a mind-boggling 18.6% in January. Due to what? Energy. 18.6%, ladies and gentlemen. The thing is that many may think, well, that's just gas. No, that's going to be everything. Everything will be affected. Industries need gas or energy. Let's just say energy. Industries need energy. When their energy prices, when their input prices go up, who do you think they're going to pass that extra cost on to? They're not going to suck it up. They're going to pass it on to you. So 18.9% or 18.6%, in my opinion, that's lowballing a little bit. Inflation only has one way to go. You have to understand. Inflation is a snake that is eating its own tail. It only has one way to go, and that's up. Because there's absolutely nothing that any of these countries can do. It doesn't matter. As long as you have a printing press, inflation has only one way to go. You can take that to the bank and you can take that to your grave. As long as a country has a printing press, inflation only has one way to go. Because they will always abuse the power of the printing press over the sovereignty of their own citizens. Zinc and aluminum smelters shutter in Europe due to soaring power prices. And when a corporation that makes, or a company that makes something that is so needed, like zinc and aluminum, it's needed for almost everything, ladies and gentlemen. When they shutter their doors because they can't afford their electric bill, you know something is wrong. Man, if you're one of those naysayers, right? If you're one of those people that are like, oh, you're a fearmonger, this is doom porn, whatever you want to call it, right? If you don't see what is going on, goodness gracious, you are the person that we need to be afraid of. The people that don't see what is going on right now, that are completely asleep to what's going on, that think that this is fear-mongering, those are the people, ladies and gentlemen, that we need to be afraid of, because they are going to be hit the hardest. And here, Mr. Von Greyers, who's a famous economist, says that the autumn of epic asset collapses and higher inflation means poverty and social unrest. And I mean, social unrest is already happening. Poverty is rampant. I mean, I think I have an article coming up where a whole bunch of companies are foretelling that they're going to be laying off a whole bunch of people, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But he says that looking at debt and levels that can never be repaid, sovereign, corporate, and private, that's one of the things that's a sign that we are headed towards, a bad place. Epic global bubbles in stocks, bonds, and property is also about to collapse. Major geopolitical conflicts with no desire for peace and major wars are likely. All right. Energy imbalances and shortages, most self-inflicted, and we just talked about that. Food shortages leading to major famine and civil unrest. Inflation leading to hyperinflation and global poverty, except for who? Global poverty except for who? Except for those people that caused the hyperinflation. Political and economic corruption in U.S., Europe, and most countries. No country will afford Social Security, Medicare, or pension payments. If you're on a pension, like I am, get ready to lose it. Eventually, it will be gone. And many people have asked me, am I going to lose my pension? No, we're going to keep our pensions. For as long as the government is standing, for as long as there is a government institution, if you have a government pension right now, you're going to keep it. The question is this, ladies and gentlemen, how much is it going to buy you? How much is that government pension going to buy you when the dollar hyperinflates? If you like ketchup, stock up on it now. Ketchup prices soar as a California tomato crop dries up. Or as California tomato crop dries up because of what? The mega drought that we are going through. We've talked about this on previous videos. I thought that I'd bring this up. That way you can stock up on those things now before they go up in price. I know ketchup has already been going up in price. Spaghetti sauce and stuff like that has already been going up in price. Here it says, as a result, retail prices for tomato sauce are up 17% over last year. And for ketchup, 23% over last year. So get it now, ladies and gentlemen. This is why I do these videos, is so that you can be informed and then go and do your own research. By the way, I do leave the link to all of these articles on a pinned comment under this video so that you can revisit it if you want. And I would rather you revisit them. Why? Because that way you can inform yourself instead of listening to it or hearing it from someone else. All right? That way you can convince yourself to take action. Inflation is quietly stripping us of our private property rights. And man, I'll tell you what, this resonates with what I've said so often, that inflation is a tool that is used in order to strip you of your labor, to strip you of your time, to strip you of your freedom, your minutes, your hours, your days. And why is that? Is because your paycheck, if you're a working class person, your paycheck, your salary, it never keeps up with inflation. Here it says in just 3 years, things cost between 15% and 20% more than they did when many savers were putting away a majority of their money before the health crisis. The purchasing power of the dollar is down by about 20% over the same time. So in 3 years, have you received more than 20% of a raise in the job that you're working? If you have, you've kept up with inflation. If you have not, that means that your labor is now buying you less than what it did 3 years ago. Every hour that you work is buying you less than the hours that you worked 3 years ago. Those who are still working on a wage that isn't 20% higher than it was just 3 years ago are losing significant ground. Those who have stopped working and are either on a fixed income or are living off of savings have been hit even worse. Especially if you're living on a pension managed by some of the absolute worst managers to ever step foot in front of a Bloomberg terminal. And I believe that is true as well. Take a look at, I think it's CalPERS that I've mentioned in the past, that big pension in California, who throughout the last 10 or so years, when the market's only be going up like this because of all of the money printing, they've actually lost money. All right, so during a time when the market has been going up steadily every single year and doing like really great, breaking all these records, that pension is losing money like crazy. Who do you think is getting rich off of that? It's not the pensioners. It's the people that are running the pensions. Inflation is so bad, ladies and gentlemen, that even military families are suffering as housing benefits cannot keep up with exploding rent. Even military families are not receiving enough what's called BAH, I believe, basic allowance for housing, so that they can go out there and at least cover the rent that is being charged in the area that they are serving in. So it is hitting everyone. No one is going to get away from this. The only people that inflation will not affect, right? The only people that inflation will not affect are those that are the very wealthy elite and, of course, government officials, because they've already been bought by someone and they're being taken care of. And here we go. Half of companies are planning layoffs or hiring freezes, survey says. On a bright side, around 2/3 of companies are boosting pay or expanding mental health benefits. That's the only reason I wanted to go ahead and read this part. On the bright side, because I saw this, on the bright side, around 2/3 of companies are boosting pay or expanding mental health benefits. Why is that a bright side? That 2/3 of companies are expanding mental health benefits. I can understand where they're expanding pay. They have no choice. If they want to stay open, they're going to have to pay more. This is like an inflation raise. One day I will see that people that are still working, that still have a job, that they're going to be negotiating their wages probably on a weekly basis with their employers, because inflation is going to be that rampant. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, inflation only has one way to go. If your country has a central bank and they have a printing press, inflation only has one way to go, and that's up. All right. So take a look at how dire our country is, where on the bright side, companies are boosting or expanding mental health benefits. Inflation sends car ownership costs soaring to over $10,000 per year, which is about a 10% difference between last year. I was kind of amazed to see that it cost about $894 per month to maintain a vehicle in the now, right? Around now, this time, 2022, which is crazy Crazy. Pay off your debts, ladies and gentlemen. I do have a good story, a very, very good story to finish it off with. And then it's story time, and I have a quick story to tell you, which I think that you and many will get a lot out of. So let's finish it off with this. This is awesome. Fargo School Board reinstates Pledge of Allegiance after national public outcry. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, Fargo School Board. Thank you. All right. Not that you should have taken it off in the first place, but thank you. Well, let me rephrase that. Thank you to the people that outraged enough that they went ahead and reinstated that. All right. It says here, after criticism from conservative lawmakers and backlash from citizens nationwide, the Fargo Board of Education on August 18th voted to reverse course on its previous week's decision to stop reciting the Pledge of Allegiance before its meetings. They should be ashamed of themselves, first and foremost, to have stopped it. This is the United States of America. If you don't like it, leave. If you don't like this country, you are free. Isn't that the beautiful thing? It's the beautiful thing about the United States of America. If you don't like it, leave. Go somewhere and live your best life. But leave people here who love this country and what it stands for and what it was founded on. Leave us alone so that we can live in the country that we love. And if you don't love it, then leave. If you go into a restaurant and you don't like that restaurant, what do? You leave and take your business elsewhere. So if you don't like it here, get the hell out. It's that simple. Live your best life. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's story time. The reason that I'm telling you this story is because I received an email that I finally got to. That email was probably a couple of weeks old or so. And I'm not going to mention who the email was or what it says because it doesn't really have too much of an impact as to the story that I'm going to tell you. But I think you're going to get the gist of it. And I think it's important that people understand this, right? So this email that I read reminded me of a friend of mine that gave me a call here, I don't know, about almost a month ago or so. And he was talking to me about his father-in-law. You know, that his father-in-law had passed away. And I've known this person for quite a while. He's a really good guy. He's a friend of mine. He doesn't live here in Alaska. And anyways, you know, I'm saying, hey, my condolences. I'm really sorry that happened. And then through our talks, I noticed that he said something, and I caught it, and I stopped him. And he said, yes, forgiveness is a beautiful thing. And I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean forgiveness is a beautiful thing? And he told me a story about him and his father-in-law's early years after he'd been married. He's already been married for like, I don't know, 23 years, 24. It might be longer. You know how time passes. But he's been married for over 2 decades already. And he says, well, yeah, you know, when I first got married, my father-in-law, we did not see eye to eye. And it grew to a point where I hated him. Where I hated him. Whenever he came over to our house, I had to either leave the house or go to a different room or whatever. And you know, it's just we didn't see eye to eye. There were things that, you know, he did that I thought were wrong and vice versa. And, you know, there's always 2 stories or 2 sides to every story. I always mess things like that up. And I'm like, so, you know, tell me some of the stories. And he says, well, no, I'm not going to tell you any of the stories. All right. Because I'm not going to talk bad about someone who's passed away and stuff like that. But let me tell you this. One day I noticed that the hatred within me for this man was really affecting me. It was affecting me emotionally and physically. I felt sick to my stomach. And that day, I told myself, I'm going to forgive him for everything. And like I said, there's always 2 sides to every story. So I don't know what he was forgiving him for or whatever. But he says that he decided to forgive him for all of the wrongs that he'd been done. And he said that once he forgave him, that a burden was lifted from his shoulders and that he felt everything change. Once he truthfully forgave him. And he told me, I didn't forget the things that happened, but I forgave him for those things that happened. And he said my life changed because after that, I was a better person towards him, and it changed him to become a better person towards me. And now that he's passed, he said, and you remember this like a month ago or so, he said, but I'm saying like if it's in the now. And he said, but now that he's passed, I realized how much I love him and how much I'm going to miss him. So what's the moral of the story, ladies and gentlemen? The moral of the story is that when you have hate in your heart, the only person that it hurts is you. And the only person that gains power is the person that you exhibit that hate towards. So learn to forgive. Don't forget, but learn to forgive. I usually try to stay out of YouTube drama. You know, whenever a channel's having drama here or drama there, I don't want to know anything about it. I don't want to know anything about their drama or anything like that. You know, if I go to a channel, and this is not about a YouTube channel or anything like that, but like if I go to a channel or something like that, and there's something that I don't like, I just leave the things that I don't like, right? And I take with me the things that are good. And learning how to forgive is so empowering. You have to understand this. It's so empowering that it will only make you a better person. So learn to use the power of forgiveness, because it will make you a better person, and it can definitely help that person that you are forgiving. I think I said that right. I don't know. But hopefully you can get something out of that. It's just a conversation that I remember having because this one email kind of like brought that memory up of that conversation. But forgiveness is a great thing. We're only in this world, in this physical world, we're only here for a while. Don't spend your time here in this physical world. Don't spend your precious time that we've been given, that we've been gifted, having hate in your heart and being judgmental of everyone. We're all different. Right? We are all different. Having said that, I hope you have a great day. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper. I am out.